It's July 24th, and this is Movie Talk. Today, we're talking about Jennifer Lawrence being in a new movie about the mob, and we're counting down our top 3 Quentin Tarantino movies in honor of the release of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Here on Collider Movie Talk. Yeah, that's the logo there. It's doing its thing. And there it is. Look at me, my pretty face. How you like that? My nice little polo here, breaking it out here on Movie Talk. I am sitting in for the lovely Perry Nemiroff, who is off handling other business around the world right now. But I cannot do this show alone, obviously. So I brought along 2 of my favorite people in this sphere. That over there is Jeff Sneider, and next to him is the way better and beautiful Dorina. How are you two?
Oh, Snidey's beautiful too.
Yeah, I'm beautiful in my own way on the inside.
Yeah, I don't want to go inside Jeff Sneider.
Let's not talk about that. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you, Dorina?
I'm good, but
show.
sad because one of my favorite actors of all time passed away today.
Yeah, we'd be remiss not to start with that, and that is the unfortunate passing at 75 of Rutger Hauer. Of course, many of us know him as Roy Batty in Blade Runner, but he was also fantastic in Nighthawks, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Batman Begins, any number of movies you can throw out there that Rutger Hauer really staked his claim as one of these underground favorites for those of us who are massive cinephiles. I want to go with you, Dorina. You're a fellow Blade Runner lover. Tell me, what was this news like for you?
He was obviously old. We're all going to go it someday. You just quoted, obviously, what's his name? Gaff or Gaff from Edward James Olmos, yes. Right? Like where his quote, where it's like, "Oh, too bad she won't." It's too bad she won't live. But then again, who does, right? We're all going to go. But Rutger was. You named a lot of his good movies. Mm-hmm. He was also in Hobo with a Shotgun. He was amazing. In The Hitcher, he was amazing.
Yes.
And Lady Hawk, it's like his resume is incredible. But for me, Blade Runner has a very special place in my heart because it's not only my favorite movie, but he's part of my favorite moment in cinema history. Mm-hmm. Like that monologue about existence and death is my favorite thing I've ever seen. It always makes me cry. The fact that he was involved in rewriting that part of the script. Mm-hmm. And there's a rumor that while they were filming that scene, the Tears and Rain scene, the crew actually ended up crying while watching him perform that, right? Yeah. And so I feel like that's what Rutger brought to all of his characters in his movies, is he made even the villains that he played empathetic, because Roy Batty, when you first meet him, he is a villain, but he's the soul of the movie because he ends up becoming the most humane character. Mm-hmm. He starts out as a villain, and all he wants is to find his creator to extend his life. Yeah. Or
to have the conversation of why I was created.
Correct. Yeah. And so we all, can empathize with that. And the fact that at the end of the movie, he, doesn't kill Deckard, and we see his humanity is one of the most beautiful things I've seen in cinema, obviously with Vangelis' score. But, he, in Lothos, sexiest vampire ever in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, other than Chris Sarandon.
There you go.
So thank you, Rutger, for everything.
Absolutely. Jeff, any thoughts?
Obviously, his defining role was Roy Batty, but yeah, I just like that he was a genre guy, not just in Buffy and The Hitcher, but things like Sin City.
Yes.
I loved Hobo with a Shotgun. That sort of gave us a little Rutger Hauer resurgence over the past decade, which led to parts in Batman Begins and whatnot. I think we're going to miss the guy. He was a really good, interesting actor.
Certainly leaves a footprint in the entertainment industry, and hell, he never gave a bad performance. Even in cheesy films like Blind Fury, you still love it for Rutger Hauer, and certainly Roy Batty, that's the one. And one of the most iconic speeches ever, certainly probably in the top 10, and I know something about top 10 lists. All right, let's move on. There's no easy transition into our first story of the day here on Movie Talk, and that is Jennifer Lawrence. She has herself a new film here. She's taking this on. She's going back to familiar territory. The project is called Mob Girl, and it's based on the novel called Mob Girl by Teresa Carpenter. We're getting this from Variety. It's based on the life of the mob wife turned police informant Arlene Brickman. The film follows Brickman, who grows up among racketeers on the Lower East Side of New York City, where she's drawn to the glamorous and flashy lifestyle of New York mobsters. I mean, who wouldn't be? Soon after, she begins dating wise guys and running errands for them before getting in on the action herself, eventually becoming a police informant and a major witness in the government's case against the Colombo crime family. You hear this news. Dorina, what's your thoughts? Are you excited? Does it excite you to see Jennifer doing something outside the X-Men franchise?
Sure. I mean, I usually get excited about movies, not so much for the actors. I mean, an actor can excite me, but it's the people behind the cameras that excite me. And the writer, actually, the woman, Angelina Burnett, that's, I think, actually doing the screenplay.
Yes, she is. She's adapting the book.
She's a great writer. You know, she has Hannibal. She's written for Hannibal. She's written for The Americans. So if you give an actor a good script and a good director, obviously the director, you know, young Pope. I don't know if everybody likes it, but I think it's a decent show.
Right.
And so if these actors have the tools from the crew, they can do a good job. Clearly, she can.
Yeah.
Maybe she wasn't enjoying herself as much in the X-Men movies.
That was very true.
But every other movie she's done, she's fantastic. So
yeah, Paolo Sorrentino is the director you're referencing. Jeff, you hear this? Is this you're good at talking about what moves actors should or shouldn't do. Do you think this is a good next move for Jennifer? Another kind of smaller independent film, but still with kind of an attractive storyline to it.
I think that this is a top-notch filmmaker, and you can't really go wrong when you're working with top-notch filmmakers. I mean, look at DiCaprio.
Yeah.
I know he's taken some heat for not working with female filmmakers in a while, but like that is how you deliver your best performance, by working with these people who can coax that out of you. And Sorrentino, I really like his stuff. I like that Sean Penn weirdo movie that he did, This Must Be the Place,
right.
and Il Divo. I think this is the right point for Jennifer Lawrence to sort of do a movie that's her. There's a bit of crime to it. It kind of allows her to go back to her American Hustle character, if you will, a little bit. I don't know. I feel like this has a little bit of Donnie Brasco to it too. Okay. So if this could be Jennifer Lawrence's Donnie Brasco, I think it's a project well worth pursuing.
It's got a vibe to Molly's Game as well, doesn't it? She gets involved in that crime stakes and then has to end up kind of turning states or possibly turning states to save herself in the situation. I like this as a choice by her because she's a rough and tumble actress, and you love to see her kind of get parts that she can sink her teeth into. When you speak about the director, you speak about the writer, putting that combo together with something as gritty and driven as Jennifer Lawrence, it excites you. You know, for a while she was getting a little pushback from people because she was playing these roles that she was maybe a bit too young to play. That was the pushback. But she was winning Oscars for it. She was being nominated for this stuff. So certainly people appreciate her talent. The right people appreciate her talent. Here's another possible move for her. Red Sparrow didn't really, turn out as well as they would hoped, I imagine. But this could be something that could be a bit of an underground hit, going back to that Winter's Bone kind of vibe, more of an independent approach.
Yeah, as at her young age, she's clearly showed us that she has the dramatic chops. Like even if she is too young to play other roles, she definitely has the emotional depth to play these characters.
Yeah. What do you think?
I happen to love Red Sparrow, so I will defend her on that front. And it's
I'm not bashing. I'm saying financially didn't make
Mother I couldn't stand, but Aronofsky's a filmmaker I love. So
it's actually Mother.
So it's like, working with a great filmmaker doesn't necessarily guarantee a great movie. I don't know what to expect from this new A24 movie that she's doing with Lila Neubauer.
Yep.
I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but she's like a first-time feature director, I understand. But that project sounds really interesting, and Jennifer Lawrence is going to be playing like a soldier with PTSD, that kind of thing. So I like the path that she's going down, having put the X-Men franchise in the rear window, and I think that I think we haven't seen the best from this actress yet.
Yeah, there's a piece of me that feels a bit heartbroken that she wasn't the one that ended up in Captain Marvel. I would have loved to have seen her version. Nothing against Brie Larson. I would have loved to have seen Jennifer Lawrence's version of Captain Marvel. We certainly got shades of Black Widow in Red Sparrow, of course, but seeing her step into something, I wonder what more energy and gravitas she would have brought to a role like that as an actress like she is.
Yeah, no, and again, I was kind of poking fun earlier about her as Mystique, but because I get it. Look, I'm sure those movies pay actors a lot, but they also have to do a lot, whether it's sitting for hours in a makeup chair. It's a different type of direction when these actors do these big budget movies. So I'm sure it's exciting for them to be able to do movies like this.
Do you think we'll see her in a franchise movie again, or do you think this is
I'm sure. She's young. I'm sure at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know as far as like what comic book parts there are out there, but I suppose Marvel will be looking for Sue Storm relatively soon-ish.
That's a good one.
I mean, I'm really looking forward to Jennifer Lawrence to seeing her take on Elizabeth Holmes, the Theranos founder in Bad Blood, if that Adam McKay project ever comes together. I know Kate McKinnon is doing like a Hulu series. Like there may be like too much Elizabeth Holmes when all is said and done, but that would be a very interesting turn for someone like Jennifer Lawrence.
She could totally do that. It's a fantastic HBO documentary as well. If you haven't seen that, all Elizabeth Holmes, I forget what it's called offhand, but it's a fantastic doc, certainly. All right, well, we'll see. Certainly Jennifer Lawrence rarely picks bad projects, so this could be something that lets her really kind of show us again what she can do and remind us really what she can do. We'll see what happens there. Next up on the show, we're going to be counting down our top 3 Quentin Tarantino films in honor of the release of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But before we dive into that, we got a couple of plugs to do, and that is our Comic-Con interviews are up on Collider.com. Dorina was down there as well doing a bunch of stuff with us at Collider. A bunch of people involved in that team doing some stuff. We got Dorina's reaction, right?
If you guys want to see my super embarrassing, way nerdy reaction to the It Chapter 2 event, you guys can find that on Collider Video.
That was one of the, I really enjoyed watching that on Twitter. And so you can find all the interviews we've gotten from Collider, from down there in Comic-Con, rather, Hall H and what have you. All those interviews we did, they're all up now on Collider.com. So go and find those. Also, you can watch me taking a karate lesson from Mike Moe, almost getting my face kicked off by the actor who plays Bruce Lee in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That video is up as well. And I do an interview with Mike. We sit down and talk about how he came to play Bruce Lee, how Bruce Lee influences his life, and what he wanted to bring to that character on screen, working with Quentin Tarantino. All of that in a fun interview. And he gives us a nice demonstration of his martial arts skills. Kicks a spoon out of my mouth with a roundhouse kick. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. All right, let's move on to our next story. Speaking of Quentin Tarantino, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is being released tomorrow night. It is going to be out for everyone to take a look at. Jeff and I did a non-spoiler review, which you can find on Collider as well. And this is a film that has a lot of people waiting with bated breath to see what we've got here. Dorina hasn't seen it yet, so we're not going to spoil anything.
Tomorrow.
You're seeing it tomorrow?
No spoilers.
Right on, no spoilers. But we wanted to rank our top 3 Quentin Tarantino films in honor of that. So I'm going to go 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, and we're going to talk about them as much as we can over the next few minutes. All right, Dorina, what is your number 3 Quentin Tarantino
So my
film?
first 2 were actually really easy, but I was having a really hard time, and I'm kind of cheating, but it's a tie between Death Proof and Jackie Brown.
Wow. Two distinctly different films.
I know, but I couldn't pick the third one because, I mean, they're both very different, but it was hard to not have it in my top 4, I guess.
Okay.
Because I think, what he did with Jackie Brown was basically what he did with Bruce Willis and John Travolta, in Pulp Fiction, right? And so I think that it's one of his most underrated movies.
Yeah.
I think it's it gets a little cheesy with the romantic plot, which I don't care for as much. Other people might, but I think it's great. And then Death Proof is like the coolest girl power movie ever.
Yeah.
So, other than Kill Bill.
Well, yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, well, what's your number 3, Jeff?
I feel like I'm not surprised that you love Death Proof as much as you do. I mean, I'm a big fan too, but it's like the closest to a horror movie that I think he's made.
Yes.
And I know that you're a big fan.
Yeah, and
horror
Kurt
movies.
Russell's freaking awesome.
Yeah,
even
of course.
he's horrible, but his character's horrible, but he's so good.
Man, Mike.
My number 3 was Reservoir Dogs.
Is what? Reservoir Dogs?
Yeah.
Number 3?
Yeah,
Okay.
I love
middle.
Reservoir Dogs. I think it operates like a Swiss watch.
Yep.
All the parts just come together perfectly. I love the cast. I know it's sort of based on it was a Ringo Lamb movie,
Yeah,
right?
Ringo Lamb, yeah.
But
Streets of Fire, I think.
I just that was such a breath of fresh air when I saw that in middle school, and I was like, who is this filmmaker? I love everything about it.
Yeah. I was slapping Jeff around in middle school. I'm older than him, so we were beating him. My number 3, it was really tough to pick out, but my number 3, I know this is going to piss some people off, is Pulp Fiction. That's my number 3 film. For whatever reason, it's not a film that I always run back to and watch over and over again. I appreciate all the vignettes and the way Tarantino seamlessly weaves them into each other and creates this world here in LA. And certainly moving here and then living here for a little bit and then watching the movie again, it's fascinating to see how much richer the movie is because you've experienced these places that he puts in the film. But for me, there are a couple other films that I just love a little bit more than Pulp Fiction for whatever reason. Wow. Dorina, what's your number 2?
Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, nice choice.
I love that movie so much. I remember seeing it in the theater for the first time, just enjoying the hell out of it the entire time. The cast is incredible. The concept, I love movies like this where they take a concept like this and then make it a fantasy and completely change and rewrite history, because that's what movies are for.
Sure.
And
based on a true story. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I think it's a very enjoyable movie about a horrible time, and that's hard to pull off. And obviously, breakout role from Christoph Waltz. It's the first time I ever saw him.
Sure.
And he was incredible in it. And then killing Nazis, man. I love saying that.
What do you think of that he had looked at Leonardo DiCaprio for that Hans Landa role? I could not not picture that.
Well, I saw him do a great job with Snatch and that weird accent from those.
Oh, you're talking
that
about Brad
pikey
Pitt.
accent, Brad Pitt. But DiCaprio,
Yeah, like
what would he have
that's-
gotten out of DiCaprio? Would have been interesting to see if he could have gotten a cool accent from DiCaprio to match what Pitt was able to do.
I mean,
in Snatch.
I know DiCaprio was great as Calvin Candy in Django. I just don't
He
know
was.
if I could have seen him as the Jew hunter.
Brad was really funny trying to speak Italian.
Yes, of course.
Yes,
Yeah.
he was.
My number 2 is Jackie Brown.
Okay.
I think Jackie Brown is fantastic. I agree with you that it is underrated. It's just underappreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the deepest of Quentin's films. Maybe that's because it's based on an Elmore Leonard novel.
Mm-hmm.
I think she is the most fully fleshed out character
Mm-hmm.
in any Tarantino movie. Like I understand this woman's wants and desires and her regrets. I love the romance. I think it's almost like one of the only real romances that we've seen in a Tarantino
Right.
movie with Max Cherry and Jackie Brown. I love Ray Nicolette, Michael Keaton, Chris Tucker's fantastic, and of course Sam Jackson, Zordell Roby. They just took that to the next level.
Yeah, I will throw in the fact that Bridget Fonda was maybe never better than she was in
Yeah.
that film, and her and a really interesting
De Niro, right?
De Niro performance
Yes.
as well. Someone who is way more vulnerable than he usually plays at a time when he didn't have to play a role like this. What an incredible influence Tarantino must have had on De Niro to be like, I want you to play this part. For him to accept to do that was fantastic as well. I don't revere it as much as you guys do. I think I don't run back to it as often because I think it is also one of those very incredibly unique Tarantino films that is kind of take on the blaxploitation stuff, obviously, but also it's based on another property, and that to me it limits me a little bit in appreciating as much.
When's the last time you saw it?
A year ago?
I would really
On
okay.
TCM?
So that's
I think it
relatively
was on
recent.
TCM. Yeah.
All right, because I was going to say
it's
if
a
it'd
good
been,
film. You can't deny that.
All right.
Yeah. Absolutely. No bashing on my end.
Fight.
Yeah,
Fight.
right. Exactly. Fight. My number 2 is Reservoir Dogs. That film absolutely changed my life at a formative time in my 20s. When I went to see that film, I had no idea what I was walking into, and for whatever reason, I didn't know movies could do that. And I was so blown away by it that I started having, when it came out on VHS, and I bought it for like $95. I remember having friends over to watch the film with me. Like I wanted to turn everyone into a fan of this film. I'd have people over at my apartment way back when in Virginia, 5-6 people who I'd work with or friends I knew come over on a Saturday night, order the pizza and watch the movie, and no one that I knew walked away from that movie thinking they didn't enjoy it or love it.
Right.
And I think there's so much about the dialogue, there's so much about the hunger of a young filmmaker, and it's a short film, it's not a long film, yet these incredible scenes and incredible writing within those scenes just can't be beat, in my opinion, until we get to my number
the
one.
way he utilizes that space,
Yeah.
I think, is really impressive.
Yes.
And of course, the soundtrack. There's just so many iconic moments, and the way that he established his own visual language,
Yeah.
like the trunk shots and stuff. Like that all started with dogs.
Right, and
Yeah.
the quotable lines, right? Where's the POTUS dungeon? I got to take a squirt. I just, all those kinds of things that come out of nowhere that are natural, and how men speak. I really
Right.
love that.
Well, and the performance, like you said, I mean, that's the thing about Tarantino, right? That he will get some incredible performances
Oh, yeah.
from an incredible cast.
Absolutely. All right, Dorina, what's your number 1?
So it's not Pulp Fiction. People are pissed that it's not in my top 3 at all. I think it's a great movie. It's just not one of my
It's
favorites.
not in your top 4, frankly.
No, it's not. It's not. It's like maybe top 5. Sorry, guys. But it's Kill Bill, Volume 1.
Right.
That's easy for me. It's a movie that is very rewatchable to me. It's a movie that's aesthetically beautiful. The soundtrack is incredible. Like all those action sequences, like the scene where she's fighting. I forget the girl's name in the schoolgirl uniform
yeah.
with the ball and
Gogo
chain.
Yubari?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, and it's such a cool revenge movie about where we see this character Uma really overcome so many obstacles, and it's
Yeah.
actually really it's tragic and it's violent, but it's actually also inspiring, right? And
Yep.
because she does survive at the end, spoilers, but yeah, and there's also a bunch of cool chicks fighting, and
Yeah.
that's great. So
Yeah.
I love it.
How about you, Jeff?
I love
What's your
Kill
number
Bill
1?
Volume 1 as well, man. It's tough to not include that on my list. But number 1 is, of course, Pulp Fiction.
Oh, okay.
I just don't, they just don't make them like that anymore. They didn't make them like that that before. It just blew my mind when I was a kid, and I think it's the real reason why so many people in this town and even in this building right now are living in Los Angeles, because they saw Pulp Fiction and it just made them want to tell stories. And there are several stories in Pulp Fiction that are fantastic. The ensemble that he put together is crazy impressive, and what he was able to do with like John Travolta, like bringing him back. I love that Tarantino cares about resurrecting people's careers and stuff like that. The soundtrack is iconic, the surf music, and it's just, I love the non-linear storytelling. It's a masterpiece.
You could certainly argue it's the best soundtrack of all the Tarantino movies. You could argue that. Reservoir is a pretty great soundtrack as well.
Kill Bill Volume 1 is
Pulp
really
Fiction
good
is not my favorite, actually.
Oh, is it? What is it?
And Bastards may be my favorite soundtrack.
That one's really good, because you got
is-
Ennio Morricone in that one, too.
That's a good point. Okay. I am the other Latino on this panel, so I will agree with my Latina friend, and that is Kill Bill Volume... No, Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair. I am one of those controversial people who believes that both those movies are one movie. Weinstein made him cut it into two pieces. It's one movie. You can absolutely watch the whole thing from beginning to end, both movies back to back, and it seamlessly works. It's fantastic. I've gone to see it at the New Beverly a number of times when they've made them one movie, and it is a fantastic film. It's an awesome revenge story. Samurai swords. You got Sonny Chiba. You got Uma Thurman kicking some crazy ass. Vivica A. Fox was never better than she was in this movie. So many. Michael Madsen is incredible. Daryl Hannah, Splash the Mermaid, is kicking ass in this movie.
That animated sequence.
Oh, the
I
animated
love.
sequence for Oren Ishii from Lucy Liu. Absolutely. All of it just works so seamlessly, and I love it to pieces, and I love everything about it. And I think it's his most strongest statement about his love of 70s films through so many different genres that he throws in there, so many styles of 70s films that he throws in there, that I think it works so well. So that's my number one overall.
What is your favorite kill in Kill Bill? Is there...
Ooh. Man, I mean, I think I probably...
of the five people.
Oh, it's
of the
Daryl Hannah.
Oh,
The
really?
snatching out of the
That's your
eye,
favorite?
and her
That's really
she's
good.
almost imitating what's her character Pris from
Right.
Blade Runner, because she's just like flopping around on the ground without the eye.
It's just that the black mamba, like the snake thing. I don't like snakes. I'm like Indiana Juana, and so it's a good one, but it's hard to watch.
Yep.
But I love the fight between her and Oren Ishii. Is amazing.
It's
It's
epic.
just, I mean, in the snow, it's a beautiful looking action sequence.
It's a noble fight.
We've got all different ones, because I'm going to go Vivica A. Fox. I
there
think
you
the
go.
green fight at the beginning
knife?
is amazing. Yeah, with the cereal.
I love
and,
that. I love that.
And the little girl who comes in, of course, and sees her.
Which
Like,
may
that's-
be volume 4.
Yeah, that's true. There you
Or
go.
volume 3.
Hopefully.
All right, let's answer some questions here from the fans. You guys have been great sending these things in. Let's start with the James Eversole Jr. movie podcast. That's James Eversole Jr. movie podcast. If you could live in a Quentin Tarantino movie world, which one would you pick?
Man, that's hard because they all seem horrible. They all seem, it's like, what's the prettiest story?
Well, I would be one of the bastards. I'd try to be one of the Inglorious Bastards. I'd like to be on that crew and killing Nazis, as you said.
I think I will go with the new movie. I think I would love to have
that's a
lived
good point.
in late
That's true.
60s, maybe early 70s Hollywood. That would have been a lot of fun.
Okay.
Damn. Okay, I guess I want to be a martial artist. I'm going to pick Kill Bill. There you go.
You'd be in the world of Kill Bill.
Yeah.
You'd be one of those people.
Yeah,
All right,
I would like
part
to.
of the Viper Squad?
I would like to train.
What would be your nickname?
And I just said it, Indiana Juana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I missed
Come
it.
on. Get on it, man. All right. Luis Enrique de la Pena asks, what's your favorite Rutger Hauer film or role?
I mean, obviously Blade Runner, but I would say other than that, I mean, as much as I love him in Hobo with a Shotgun.
Oh, yeah?
I just think what he did in Buffy is so cool because other than, again, Roy Batty as Blade Runner, in Blade Runner, because it's a sort of horror comedy movie, and I think he did a really good job of remaining funny as the main villain, but then also being scary.
Yeah.
Right? Because when I was a kid, I was scared of him, but I also loved watching him, and I was also a little turned on. So there you go.
I'll do a quick plug for Surviving the Game, because I think he's great in that. But my answer's The Hitcher.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
All right. I respect all your answers, but my answer, besides Roy Batty, because that is the answer, is his character in Nighthawks. I absolutely loved him in Nighthawks. He is such a great villain, and the twist at the end of Nighthawks is fantastic. Billy Dee and Sylvester Stallone in the 70s chasing down Rutger Hauer, who's a terrorist. It is fantastic. So I would say he's great in that as well. All right, let's wrap it up there. We're at the 25-minute mark. Thank you everyone for watching Collider Movie Talk today. I want to thank Jeff Sneider. I want to thank Dorina for stopping by. It was a lot of fun talking with you all. And yeah, go see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when it comes out tomorrow night. Again, our non-spoiler review is up there on Collider.
Should we do a spoiler review, John?
I would love to do a spoiler review. We'll have to figure that out with Dennis and figure out where we can go from there. All right. Thanks to Adam Smith in the booth and Dorian Parks who've been sending me a bunch of questions from you all. We'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Collider Movie Talk, 3 p.m. PT.